Hey, girlfriends, welcome to another episode of Girlfriends and Goals. We're your hosts, Miosha.
It's Samaria.
This podcast is a space where we'll talk about friendships, life goals, a little bit of pop culture, and all things womanhood.
On today's episode, we have a licensed marriage and family therapist. So, we're going to talk about why you should consider therapy to enrich all of your relationships. And it's definitely going to be a good episode. So, if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating and write a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. So, we will start by letting our special guest introduce herself.
Hi guys, my name is Oprah Zion. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. As Samaria has stated, I've been doing this about 10 years now, and I always pause because I'm like, wow, I've really been doing this for a while. But I own my own private practice, A Journey to Empowerment LLC. And it is right now a solo practice, but we will be transitioning into group. Currently, right now, we see individuals and couples dealing with all sorts of things: anxiety, depression, life changes, grief and loss, chronic pain. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I live in Atlanta.
Are you do you have clients only in Georgia, or are you taking clients elsewhere?
Virtually.
Right. Yeah. So my practice is all telehealth. So it's all virtual. And right now I'm licensed in the state of Georgia and Colorado. So as therapists, we can only see people in the state we're licensed in. So yes, I can see people in Georgia and Colorado as of now.
Okay, somebody out there needs a therapist, girl. So I'm just making sure they know, come to someone who has 10 years of experience.
Seriously. And if you really are needing it, you can go to my website, oprahspeaks.com, or you can follow me on social media at Oprah Speaks.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. So we are going to go ahead and just dive right in. If you can just let us know, what is marriage and family therapy?
Okay. So marriage and family therapy is a form of counseling. Typically, when we think of counseling, a lot of people think of LCSWs, which are licensed clinical social workers, or LPCs, which are licensed professional counselors. So MFT, I would say, is like the baby of the three. And we typically see individuals, couples, and families. And our goal is to foster healthier communication, resolve any conflicts you have, of course, enhance the relationships, and to really focus on understanding as well as addressing the unique dynamics within these relationships to promote positive change as well as emotional growth. So I know that was a lot. But we just,
I guess, how did you narrow to this specific type of therapy out of all of the ones that are available to practice?
To be honest, it was just God, because I applied to a social work position, social work master's program, and I got into all three that I applied to. And then I applied to one family therapy program and I got into that. And at that point, I was just like, Lord, which one do you want me to do? Like, which way do you want me to go? And so I kind of gravitated towards family therapy because as a first generation American, my parents are Liberian. I felt as if there were many moments where we needed therapy, where we needed family therapy, and we didn't know, right? I didn't know about it. And so I believe that a lot of things start at the family level, that if they're not addressed, it can start creeping and showing up in our adulthood. It can start showing up in our friendships, in our intimate relationships, even with our own children. So I was just like, I want to go somewhere where I am helping to keep not only individuals, loving themselves, but keeping families and couples together, because I feel like that's really important to God. And so, yes.
I love that, because I'm Liberian too, and I agree with every sentiment that you have stated. But I'm curious, like, coming from the type of culture and society that we do, were there any reactions from like your family about the field that you went into? Are they now more open to therapy because you are a therapist? How's that going?
So initially, when it comes to my parents are the type of people, they're going to support you in all that you do. Like my older sister, she's a lawyer. I'm a therapist. My younger sister did fashion. So to them, it's like, whatever it is that you want to do, that's fine. However, their friends was like, therapy, that doesn't make any money. Why are you choosing that? Like that, it doesn't work. Like, why am I going to go sit and tell my business in front of somebody? And, somebody did that. And my dad literally just stood up for me. He was just like, well, Oprah's going to do what she wants to do. And if that's what God is calling her to do, her gifts are going to make room for her. And she's here to
you
help.
better tell him, Daddy.
So yeah, so now I felt like at that time, my parents really didn't know too much about therapy because it's foreign to them, but they were open. But now, after the pandemic and a lot of things that have gone on in our own lives, they understand that therapy is actually really important. And people are really suffering silently, feeling like they can't go on, committing suicide. Like we've had a close person that we know commit suicide. And it's like, what? Where did that come from? And so I feel like my parents have a newfound respect for counseling, and they have a better understanding of it now.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm so glad to hear that they're very supportive of you. And it's can be challenging, like when you're stepping into something new. So it makes it easier when like my parents are behind me full force, no matter the amount of money, what the friends and family may think. And
I know culturally that idea of coming in and sitting down and telling somebody my business, it's like really a big deal because I had a friend tell me she's African American, and she was like, "Why are Africans so private?" And I was like, "I don't think." Okay, well, yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I am a little bit private. But if you could just address that briefly, like, why should someone consider going and telling their business to a stranger? Like, what is the benefit of that for themselves, for their relationships?
I just feel as if therapy, well, number one, we all have to change our mindset around therapy. And many people, not even just Africans, but African Americans, other cultures feel that same way of, we don't feel safe expressing ourselves to a complete stranger because we don't know what's going to happen to that information, right? The thing I love about therapy is everything is confidential. So I always tell people, I'm like your in-person diary, everything me and you talk about is confidential, except you want to harm yourself or others, or I suspect abuse of any sort, right? But just coming to therapy and you expressing how you feel, it's like a weight lifted off your shoulders. I can't really explain the feeling, but just talking to a complete stranger that is non-biased. I don't know you from anywhere, so how can I judge you? How can I form any biases against you? Therapy allows for a safe space for open communication, fostering understanding. Like you may be going through a situation and people in your immediate circle just don't get it, but you get that perspective, that outside perspective. So a lot of times I tell my clients, like, coming to a therapist is like me being up on a hill, right? It's like you're down here and I go up on a hill. It's like I can see what is even behind you. I can see what is around you, things that you're not bringing to the forefront, things that you're not even thinking of yet. It's like I can give you that higher view, if that makes sense. And then also really coming up with effective coping strategies, because many people are feeling anxious, they're feeling depressed, and they don't know what to do. They feel stuck. So coming to a therapist is able to help you think of ways that you can cope with what is going on in the here and now, and then how that's going to help you in the future, as well as we help you break these negative patterns that you built for yourself. Because I always tell people, you didn't come out your mom's womb negative, right? These negative automatic thoughts are something that we kind of establish ourselves, this negative self-talk. So the same way we've taught ourselves to be like that, we can retrain our brains, right? To be more logical, be more rational, and have more positivity, a positive outlook on things. So hopefully that answered your question.
No, it absolutely did. And I think that, there are probably some people who are like, why do my relationships fail? Like, and I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, but why, are my friendships not a certain way? Why are my relationships with family members not a certain way? And I think therapy is a good way to kind of just unpack
Unpack it.
that. Like, what exactly am I doing wrong? What maybe things are thriving and I'm just taking it in the wrong way. Maybe people are caring towards me, but my expectations are different for what that care looks like. And so I think, like you said, getting that full view that people don't even, they might not even know all the things that are affecting them in the here and now. And I think therapy is good for that. So thank you for this
Yeah.
introduction. None of the questions we had have been asked, and that's on us.
No,
But
that's fine.
maybe somebody needed that. So
Yeah.
I guess, Miosha, we could go into the things that we had planned on asking.
Well, I wanted to mention one thing. You mentioned that many people may not feel safe about opening up to a stranger. I think many people are struggling with opening up, even with family.
Mm,
That's
And so I think many times, depending on your background, there's this automatic assumption of, oh, we just keep things within the family or we keep it to us. But I've just found in people around me where it's like people are struggling even in that.
yeah.
So I think the element of it being a stranger may even help
yeah. That's true.
versus
And
the family
your
dynamic.
family doesn't probably have all the tools to even help. So
Or even
would
your
you rather?
friends. A
Or
lot of
even your
people
friends.
go to their friends. I hear so many times, have you tried therapy? Oh no, my best friend is my therapist, or my cousin second removed is my therapist. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, I understand, like you can vent and these people can, oh, and that's another thing while I'm thinking of that. Yes, these people can give you advice, but therapists, that's the biggest misconception. We don't give advice.
Mm-hmm. No, you're
You're
not.
not going to come to me and I tell you, hey, Miosha, go and do this.
Mm-hmm.
You should do this. You should take that route. That's not my job. Everything that you need to do is literally within you, but it's my job to kind of pull it out of you.
Mm-hmm.
There's things hidden deep inside of you. You have the questions. And I always tell people, you are the driver in your life. You're the expert. It's in the passenger seat. I'm able to kind of look and see things like, oh, this thing is coming. Make sure you can't see it from here, but it's a large pothole coming up, and then you can decide, am I going to go over this pothole or am I going to maneuver?
Yes.
But we don't tell you what to do. And I think that's the biggest misconception of therapy.
Okay. So, Oprah, I wanted to get your thoughts on society's view of marriage, and do you think it's changed in, I guess, the last decade since you became a therapist?
I think so. Like my parents have been married, next year will make them 40 years,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So I feel like over the years, societal views on marriages have definitely evolved, right? So I believe that there's a shift towards recognizing the diversity of relationships as well as family structures. And marriage is seen more as a partnership built on mutual respect, right? And understanding rather than these rigid roles. Basically, acceptance of different lifestyles and the importance of individual well-being within the marriage has become more prominent. Back in the day, it was more so like, okay, the woman is the homemaker. She stays at home. She's going to wash the clothes. She's going to take care of the house. The dad is going to go to work. He's going to provide. And these are like these rigid roles you had. And so now in 2023, we see households where the man stays at home and the woman goes to work, or there's just different things. So I feel like we're able to just be more open when it comes to the diversity of like relationships and what we actually do in this marriage.
Yeah, very nice. Now, are there differences, right, that you see between maybe older couples and younger couples amongst your clients?
Okay, and that's good because I see both individuals and couples. I would say the core issues like communication and intimacy definitely remain consistent in both older couples, as well as younger couples. But I would say with older couples, they often grapple with like life transitions, such as I'm about to retire or I'm going through empty nest syndrome. Like all of our kids have left. What are we going to do? Like our identity. And that's another thing is sometimes people have identity crises and they don't even realize it. It's like some people put their identity in their kids. Like I'm a mom, I'm a dad, my kids need this. And then when the kids leave, it's like, okay, I'm going through this empty nest syndrome. What am I going to do? I have nothing to do. What is my purpose? And then I feel like with younger couples, they'll face challenges related to career growth, establishing a family, navigating the complexities of this modern life that we have going on. So in therapy, the best thing to do is tailor the therapeutic approaches to address these specific life stages is definitely crucial. Like, because they're all at different stages in their life, you know. One thing I've been noticing with my couples is, strangely enough, I've been having 30-year-old women with 20-something-year-old men, right? And not to say that's strange, you know, because it happens. But in the 10 years I've been doing therapy, I haven't really seen that in my couples. But these 27-year-old, 28-year-old, 29-year-old men, they're mature. Like, from what I'm hearing them, the things that they're saying. And
Wow.
so it's just like, just meeting people where they're at, because that 27-year-old may probably still be in school, you know, or maybe they are still trying to figure out what they want to do in life, because in our 30s, some of us are still figuring out what we want to do, right? And so it's like they might have that challenge on that end is, okay, we're in this world of, you know, we don't have to be working a 9 to 5 the rest of our life. Maybe that person is like quitting to go into like entrepreneurship. But back in like our parents' days, like my dad worked for what, 35 years. He's retired now. That man ain't never take no PTO. Why?
Oh,
Wow.
not today. Listen, we taking all our PTO and some.
Literally. So things, it's like the norms have changed so much. And the things that older couples valued, younger couples aren't valuing the same things, you know. But like I said, the ones that stay consistent is like communication and intimacy. But there's so much going on, especially with technology, which a lot of older couples didn't have.
Yeah.
You know? So communication looked different in the 50s, you know, than it looks now, because you didn't have a phone where you can text like, hey babe, can you pick us up some groceries or whatever. It's like back in the day, you got to wait till your husband comes home. If he ain't coming home till 10 o'clock, you starving.
Okay.
Like, you know, and that could start an argument right there, because it's like, how am I going to get in touch with you?
Or you should have planned better.
Basically.
Yeah. So I know you haven't been under a rock, and I know you've been seeing what's been going on in some of these online spaces, not over here. But there seems to be this gender war, so to speak, that's taking place. How much of that do you think is real? Or is it being hyped up?
Yeah. So I believe that like these gender conflicts definitely influence real life dynamics, right? Especially the online gender conflicts, because it impacts your perceptions, it impacts expectations. So I definitely do believe it's real. It's one of those things where a lot of people don't understand what is going on. So it's like there's a lot of issues that arise from it, right? And that is one thing therapy can definitely address, you know. When you are going through these gender roles, it's like coming to therapy can help promote that open dialogue as well as understanding, because the digital world can definitely amplify existing tensions, but therapy provides a safe space to navigate those challenges constructively.
Emphasis on constructively. This is not your Twitter feed.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I think I was watching this video where this life coach was talking about how there's just so much influence. Like, even if you are in a healthy, loving marriage, if you get your hands on the wrong feed of information and you start consuming it, it can start to impact how you view your relationship. So I'd agree with you, Oprah, in that I know some people are like, oh, that's just online. It's just online. But if you look in the comments, I mean, you can see the back, like, these are real people. These are not all bots. So they're taking, maybe not the content creator, but like the people in the comments are taking these ideas out to the real world. And if you look at the views on the videos, so he was saying how like even, you know, straight lace, good guys can, and women can get swept up
Yeah.
and start applying these ideologies, and they don't even realize it, and basically can blow up their spot.
Yeah. And just imagine like our youth, right? It's like, yeah, we grew up in that age of like Y2K, like we have like the best of both worlds, right? In our generation. But look at the younger generation, like everything is online. I feel like with us growing up, it was a balance in a sense, because it was like we was getting there, but we weren't there like how we are now, right? But like with our youth, there's so much that is accessible to them. And if parents are not really watching, there's so many things that they can get involved in. There's so many things that they can learn that's more maladaptive, right? Or behaviors that they can take from like online. And it's just a lot. It can really be a lot. And that's why I always tell people, do a social media break. Like, and I do that because I'm telling you, I will be on TikTok. I'm supposed to be asleep, scrolling. What am I looking for? Only Lord knows, right? Just scrolling. And it's like, you have to give your brain a break. You have to give your body a break, because subconsciously seeing certain things can make you feel certain ways about yourself, especially in the day and age of plastic surgery. Yeah, plastic surgery was always there, but it is just bigger now, right? So you're comparing yourself to people online, and it's just a lot. It's
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah, it can. So
absolutely.
I would definitely say take a break sometimes, like decompress from it, take a fast from social media. And I'm telling you, you'll realize how much time you have. I just got off of a 30-day social media fast, and it was like, dang, what do I do now? But normally I'd be like, dang, there's not enough time in the day.
Yeah,
When you're
that's
not
good.
consumed with social media, there's so much time that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, so when it comes to like couples therapy,
Mhm.
I guess how soon do you recommend that couples start, bringing in a therapist and talking through issues, like prior to engagement, post engagement? Like, how soon would you recommend?
So I believe in premarital counseling. Like, if you're wanting to get married, definitely go to premarital counseling. I do recommend that couples seek therapy as soon as they recognize persistent challenges, right? So it's not reserved for crises. People need to understand that early intervention can prevent issues from escalating. So if you are starting to notice that you're dating someone, y'all aren't married yet, but you do want to go into marriage, but you notice that the communication is off. Therapy can help with that. You can be in a relationship, and like an actual couple, you can be married, everything is going well. And then you start to see a slight shift. It may not be so drastic, but coming to therapy can go ahead and prevent any issues from escalating. It's like, okay, well, we used to do this all the time and it stopped, let's talk these things out. But I would say that therapy, as you all know, is not mandatory for couples. It's not. It's something that you choose to do, but it can definitely offer valuable tools for communication and conflict resolution, which in turn contributes to a healthier relationship, right? And those are the two things that I see all the time. Like, finances is there, but majority of the couples I work with, it's communication issues, conflict resolution. Those are the two major things. So definitely early intervention is here to prevent these issues from escalating. So I recommend that you go to therapy as soon as possible. And then another thing is, if you've done couples counseling, let's say you did premarital counseling, you can always come back for maintenance. And a lot of people don't know that. It's like, okay, we went through couples counseling, we're done. No, you can always schedule an appointment to do monthly maintenance sessions, or once in a while maintenance sessions, just to kind of check in with yourselves. Make sure everything is still smooth and going well.
I love that. Yeah, that was going to be our next question.
Oh,
But you answered it. You knocked it out of the park. So, what are the most common? You mentioned that finances is there, communication. What are some other hot topics that you feel like you cover frequently?
intimacy issues, parenting concerns. That's a big one. Infidelity. Infidelity is definitely big. And then navigating major life transitions. Like I've had a lot of people that have recently moved to Georgia because, you know, everybody's just moving to Atlanta.
Mhm.
So moving to Georgia and like realizing like, wow, this is a culture shock for me, depending on where you're coming from, or I'm in this new territory. I don't have a social network. I don't have any friends. I'm starting to feel really anxious. I don't know what to do. So I've noticed a lot of major life transitions, chronic pain issues, grief and loss is also a big one. Of course, anxiety, depression, people suicidal, homicidal, you know, having these intrusive thoughts, not knowing where it's coming from. So those are some common topics in
Mm.
counseling.
In your practice, would you say that you see of the individuals mostly women or men?
That's good. Let me think. I feel like it's a good mix, actually.
Okay. Because I
Um,
feel like I've seen, I don't know if it's like this stereotype of like men not being as open to going to therapy.
so that is true. In my practice, actually, I've had more Caucasian males than
Mm.
Black males. So I would say in our African American community, for some reason, it is harder for our Black males to go to counseling. However, a shift is occurring where they're coming to counseling and you're finding more male therapists and male counselors because it's kind of like a field that is women. Like majority of counselors are women, but I'm starting to see a lot more male counselors. But like I said, in my practice, I would say it's a good mix. Now, I don't have too many African American males, but I do have like other races. Like I have Caucasian, Asian, and Hispanic. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's healthy. I wanted to talk about transitions because I feel like that's one of the things that, as an unmarried person, I hear about a lot. Like the person that I am today might not be the person that I am 10 years from now. And so, if, say, I'm like this career woman today, and 10 years from now I decide, you know what, I don't really want to do the career thing anymore. There's like a dynamic that we've built around me wanting this career. And now not only am I adjusting, but the next person is too. And so I thought it was interesting that you talked about life transitions. I know you talked about it with people moving like as a couple from one place to another, but even like one person transitioning and the other
Yeah.
person not, I can imagine might
Mhm.
bring some issues to the forefront.
I have seen couples go through that where they got together in their 20s, right? And now they're in their 40s. And of course, what you wanted in your 20s is no longer what you want in your 40s. So even as we talk about careers, and I don't want that, let's talk about intimacy, right? So things that I once liked and I wanted you to do as I get older, I'm not interested in that no more. Or there's things that I want to try. And sometimes the other partner is resistant to that, you know, and they can be faced with like these questions of, why you want to do that now? Are you stepping out on me? And it's like, no, I'm not stepping out on you. Like I value this relationship. This is my marriage. This is a covenant, but I want to try new things. So even being open to things of that sort, to know like the way this person, their love language can, your love languages can change. You know,
Mm.
in your 20s, you can be somebody that I love gifts. Gifts is my primary love language. And then in your 40s, like words of affirmation or acts of service, like that's what turns me on. That's what makes me know that you love me. That's how I give and receive love, is knowing that when I need you, you're there, or you're doing this gesture for me, or you're affirming me, you know? So just being able to grow with your partner and also understand that you're always evolving.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. You can be 50 now and in your 70s, you're going to want something different. You're going to want to try something different, or you're not going to like certain things. So in a relationship is just understanding that we are all changing. Like we are always evolving. That goes for intimate relationships and even friendships, because there's things that you used to like doing in your 20s that you don't want to do in your 30s no more. And then that becomes this hot topic of man, I feel like all my friends are dropping off, or I don't have any friends no more, or what do I do about that? So I do see a lot of people coming to me for those type of transitions, because friendship breakup sucks. Sometimes it hurts more than relationship breakups, but it's just really understanding that people's taste change. The things that I was once interested in, I'm not interested in that no more. And people have to learn how to respect people's boundaries and where they're at. And I think that is the biggest issue is like a lack of respect. It's like, I expect you to be this person you were when I met you 15 years ago. And
Mm.
that's
Yeah,
not realistic.
it's
No,
not.
it's not.
That's why I like your idea of like maintenance or checkups, because
Yeah.
I feel like without those, you could wake up one day and you both are just two completely different people.
Mhm.
It's like, well, how did we get here? You know, so if you're you're doing your maintenance every now and then, you might notice, okay, this is changing. What do we do about that? So I really love that.
So, Oprah, we focused a lot on romantic relationships, but what has been your experience of what you've observed in terms of LMFT and helping to manage other relationships and
Yeah.
family dynamics?
Okay, so let's take family dynamics. One thing that I have seen a lot is like parent child relational issues. That is the biggest one, um, as well as siblings. So with our parents, they come to counseling because as their children are getting older, it's like, I don't know who this person is, right? They don't talk to me anymore. I don't know what's going on, and I want to know what they're doing, who they're talking to. So I feel like working with adolescents, because I worked with adolescents a lot. I used to in a hospital, direct a partial hospitalization and intensive outpatient program for children and adolescents. And one thing I recognize with my adolescents is everyone feels as if their job is just to go to school and you don't have no issues, you don't have no stressors, you don't have no responsibilities. I pay all your bills, but they're dealing with so much, especially school wise,
Mm.
like the dynamics of just navigating those friendships, learning who they are. Like, are they going to take what their parents have taught them? Are they going to go to school and be like their friends? And then it's just like, I have privacy things. I have privacy. What am I trying to say? I have things that are very near and dear and intimate to me that I feel like should be safe with me, that I don't have to share with my parents. And I think that is the biggest thing. Like, as children go into adolescence, parents are so used to their child just being so open with them. And then when they become an
Mm.
adolescent, it's like, hey, like some things, I value my privacy. The same way
Mm.
parents have their privacy and they tell a child, stay in a child's place, or this grown folks' business, is the same way these children and adolescents have things that are near and dear and private to them. That is like, they want to feel safe and secure to share these things. And in family therapy, that is something that we help with, where the parents learn how to communicate effectively with their child instead of coming from this authoritative perspective of, I'm your parent, you're going to tell me what it is because I'm your parent. It's like, no, let me get to understand, like, what will make you feel safe in this situation? What have I done that made you feel as if you can't come to me? What is your worries with that? And a lot of children and adolescents like, oh, you're going to blow this out of proportion, and this is what I mean. And it's like, I just believe that, like, adolescents especially just want to be seen and heard. They
Mm.
don't want to keep being shut down. And I see that so much, especially when I was interning, because I don't typically see families now, but when I was interning, that was the biggest thing. It's like when they try to talk, it's like, no, I'm speaking, you be quiet, you don't know what's going on. It's like, it's my life.
Yeah.
Like, I just got admitted to this hospital because I tried to kill myself. We're sitting and that's where I did a lot of family counseling, was working in the psychiatric hospital and sitting near these kids that are going through so much pain, and then listening to these parents of like, what you stressed about? What you stressed about? You go to school, you're fed, you're clothed, and it's like, come on, man. We were all youth. We know the pressures that come from that. So
Yeah.
I know that was a long-winded thing, but
Mm.
I'm so passionate about my adolescents. And that's also like, when I see individuals, I do see adolescents as well, because that's a pivotal age period, right? It's like we're learning ourselves, we're learning to be secure within ourselves, to be confident in the decisions that we're making so that we don't succumb to peer pressures. So it's a lot going on with them that their parents need to realize.
I was going to ask you as a follow-up, you mentioned that you would see before a lot of adolescent with their parents. How often would you observe like an adult child with their parent using therapy or going on a journey through therapy to help resolve their issues?
Oh, we see that often. We definitely do. Like, there was this time I have worked with this family or this adult child and their parents, because growing up, the same thing, they never had a say, right? And so as now I'm in my adulthood and I have established boundaries for myself, especially when it comes to having your own children. That is another big thing I see. It's like, okay, growing up, this is the household I lived in. I wasn't able to talk back. I wasn't able to express myself. Things as little as, well, little to people as, oh, that person want a hug, give them a hug. And it's like, I don't want to give them a hug.
Right.
Yeah. But because the way you were brought up, it's like, okay, that's disrespect. I have to do it. But then you have your own child. They go over their grandparents' house and an extended family comes over there and they're like, oh, come give me a hug or come sit on my lap. And you're just like, no, ma'am. My child's not doing that.
You don't do the laps, okay? You could dap him up, whatever.
Or newborn babies, like, don't kiss my baby. Don't, all of these things. It's like, okay, you hear the parent saying, well, you do know I was your parent and look how you turned out. Know what I have internalized all the way into my adulthood that has affected me, that has been traumatic, but I've never had the ability to express myself to you because I didn't have that confidence yet, right? I always looked at it like a child needs to stay in a child's place, but I'm no longer a child. So, just navigating those dynamics of, as an adult child, I'm sticking up for myself. And these are the boundaries that I have set in place, and just working with the parents to be able to understand that, like, this isn't a form of disrespect, especially, again, talking about foreign countries, because that's the biggest thing is you have to respect your elders. No matter what, the elder is right. You can't, and it's like, so when does it change where a child is now viewed as an adult?
Yeah.
You're paying your own bills.
Again, helping parents, especially our foreign parents, understand that, hey, there was once a point in your life where you didn't have your parents, where you were an adult, you had to navigate these waters, and you brought these children into the world, and now your children are doing the same thing because it's a circle, right? So it's like the same way somebody gave you grace, you got to give your child grace. And you have to know that I've trained my children well, right? That they are going to do what they're supposed to do because they've been doing it this whole time. So even talking about achievement, so many people have achieved so much. Like, I went all the way, I did my PhD and everything like that, but it's still not enough.
Yeah.
What more do you want from me? So those are some of the dynamics I see. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah. So one thing that I've observed is how I think with our generation, at least the millennials, where I think we maybe are experiencing some of the discomfort in terms of relationships with our parents. I think our parents may have experienced those same dynamics. It's just, I think our openness to have dialogue about our feelings, our openness to push back, to challenge ideas, I think it's different. So I think the baby boomer generation, I think, experienced a lot of the same feelings with their parents, but they just maybe grinned and bared it, or it just was what it was. And I think for them, it's shocking and eye-opening to observe us saying, no, these are the boundaries. No, if you want to continue this relationship, we're going to have to go to therapy. I think we're just more vocal. And I think for them, I can imagine that it's shocking because they're probably thinking, well, when I was 35 dealing with my parent who had the exact same behavior, I just had to deal with it. And how dare y'all get to where I was and have the nerve to have boundaries and push back.
That's good stuff. That is so true.
I wish therapy was around for them, because I think when you don't talk through these things with somebody, anybody, then you run the risk of repeating these behaviors, but not even like consciously behavior, like repeating these behaviors.
Oh,
You're
it's
just
deep.
doing it because you don't even know why. You just feel like this is what needs to be done. And if
No.
you're not like attuned with, oh, I'm doing this because that's all I know parenthood to be, and I
Mhm.
feel sorry. Like, my first reaction is, wow, I really feel sorry because somebody along the way put you in a similar situation. And so now that's all you know how to do. And it's
Yeah,
like a thing that I pity in that generation, and hope that through therapy, our generation won't be repeating the same patterns.
that's true. And
Yeah.
therapy was around, but that's the thing, even like now, it's just lack of knowledge, you
Yeah.
know, and that's my biggest thing. It's like I want to advocate. I am a mental health advocate. Like people need to understand that these services are available for you. Access is here, right? These are the different ways you can access it because many people, yeah, they've heard of therapy, but how do I get therapy? What if I don't have insurance? What if, all of these different dynamics? And I feel like letting people know this, like, hey, it's accessible to you. You can get it. These are the places you can go. These are the resources. I feel like that helps too. Because if you
Mm.
don't know, you just don't know. Just like you're saying, Samaria, like our parents just didn't know. Like they did what their parents, it's like a generational thing. It's a generational cycle. And it has to break, it has to.
Amen.
I feel like there's always that one person in their family that is a generational curse breaker. Like I believe that for my family and my siblings, Chowdy might listen to this and be like, girl, what you talking about? I believe that I am a generational curse breaker for my family because I'm the first therapist, you
Yeah.
know? I'm the one that can be able to look at these dynamics and say, like, this isn't right, you
Mm.
know, and we need to change. And it's the way you say these things. And it's so interesting. And this is off topic. I'm sorry, because I'm
That's
probably
okay.
going off of your questions, but away from your questions. But I feel like a lot of who we are today, we were as little kids. So I always wanted to be a doctor, right? That was my biggest thing. I went to school, I was a bio major. I just knew I was about to be somebody neurosurgeon, okay? And then reality hit. And I was like, I don't like blood. I don't like none of this stuff. But I remember just being younger, like in my elementary years, I always liked unity. I always liked bringing people together. I was always curious, right? I always had a curious stance on everything. So at the age of 10, I'll never forget this. My parents, they never used to say, I love you, right? And I just used to be like, that's so weird. Like I go to school, I see my friends' parents saying that. So I went to my dad as 10-year-old Oprah and I said, Daddy, why don't you ever say you love us? And my dad was like, what do you mean? I work every day. I provide food for you guys. You have clothes on your back, And I'm just like, but you're my dad. That's your role. I'm a child. I can't work. You know what I'm saying? I can't supply these things. So other than doing that, how do I know you love me
Mm.
if I never
Mm.
hear it?
Yeah.
And I've always been that type to not be disrespectful, but I'm gonna challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
Like, why are we living like this? And my dad, he took a step back and he was just like, growing up in Liberia, my parents never said, I love you, but I knew they loved me because, I would get a whooping. I would get whipped if I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And
Ooh.
so that made me into the person I am today. And it's just like, but the interesting thing is, we hardly got whoopings like that, because maybe my dad didn't even know he internalized those things. So it's like, I want to do something different. But from that day, guys, my dad tells us, I love you every day. When we talk to him, it's like, I love you. Now, my mom, I love her. I'll be like, I love you, mom. She's like, oh, okay. So
Yeah. Oprah. Oh my gosh. I feel like you just touched on something, because when you were talking about generational curse breakers.
Mhm.
I feel like there are certain things that they break the curse, break, I don't know how to phrase that, but there are certain curses that they break, but then others that they're just oblivious to. So like I
Yeah.
can look in my own lineage and be like, oh, okay, so I know that this person saw this in their household and decided that's not what I want for my kids. But this other thing that seems so obvious, I mean, it's in red, it's in bold letters, they got banners everywhere, you can't ignore it.
Flashing lights, yeah.
Like you don't see this thing, like really.
Yeah.
So it's like I appreciate, okay, you're breaking this curse, but baby, go ahead and tackle this other one for me too. You know,
I agree.
Yeah, Oprah, I'm so glad that you said that. You know, sometimes it's just saying something. I was listening to Dr. Tama, and she was saying that a lot of times with familial conflict, it's that a lot of times they're just so comfortable in the conflict, in the silence, using things like food, gatherings, certain interactions, won't talk about it. And she was saying to the young man that was interviewing her, when you're in this dynamic, I think it was with his mom and his grandma, they got beef. They beefing hard. And he was just saying how awkward it would make him feel. She said, well, have you ever just flat out told them that this makes you uncomfortable? Have you ever just come out and said, like, this is putting a lot of stress on me to come visit you in the home and there's so much tension. And he's like, no, like me and my sister have just dealt with it. Like we know we've put parameters around it. Like we know, okay, we go spend a few minutes with grandma, and we go spend a few minutes with mom, and we know what to say, not to say. We're like tiptoeing, we're on eggshells. She's like, but you could just say, this hurts me to observe this and to be in this energy and space. And that's why I don't come over here. Like we just have to all start being kind of brutally honest a bit to even like evoke some sense of change.
I wholeheartedly agree, because I always tell people no one can read your mind. So if you keep on poking me and you hate to be poked, but you haven't opened your mouth to say, hey, can you stop poking me? I'm gonna think it's okay. So every time I meet you, like, girl, let me tell you, and you be like, yeah, but it's like, what if you just told me, Osha, I hear you, but can you not press into my arm? Like that hurts because you can't read my mind. So you've done it all this time. I just think it's normal. And I love what you said, because the only way to elicit change is to get uncomfortable in your situation. Like how many times have I shifted in this seat? It was a couple of times, right? Because I was uncomfortable. So I changed my position. But if I was comfortable, I wouldn't have moved one bit during this interview. So I tell people, start getting uncomfortable in your situations so that you can make room for change. If you're comfortable, change will never come. And that is the same thing in therapy. If you're going to come to therapy and you're looking for someone to just validate you, I hear you, girl, you got this, you're never going to change. Therapy makes you very uncomfortable because you're going to bring up things that you don't want to talk about. You're going to bring up things that make you feel scared, make you feel insecure. But bringing up those things is going to put a mirror in front of you so that change can take place. Because therapy is not just here to have good talks, right? I would love to be everybody's girlfriend and just sit up here, but I actually got to work, and you have to work. It's like a dance. If you dancing, I'm not moving, we ain't dancing, So we have to move together. It is a dance. You got to trust me. I got to trust you. You got to get vulnerable. Vulnerability is strength. It's not weakness, in order for that change to happen, and that's the biggest thing. Therapy, you're going to bring up some stuff. But the good thing is, after that stuff is brought up, it's not like we just bring it up and then just go, okay, bye. It's like, no, we bring it up and we effectively stitch up those wounds, where we're not just putting a Band-Aid on it and giving it to, like, we're actually closing it, right? But yeah, I don't know where that came from, but
oh, that was awesome.
That's amazing. And I feel like that is a good point to stop right there. A lot has been said, and we are so grateful to you, Oprah, for coming on the podcast. I feel like that 45 minutes just flew on by. It will definitely have to invite you back, because we could talk all day, all night. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Girlfriends and Goals Podcast. And if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and do that now. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Everybody.